That reminds me, I
What?
edited but did not post the last video because...
Oh, well done. Good job.
Yeah. So now, listeners,
of
you
you.
get to hear me live posting the last week's episode a week
Exciting.
This is like, when will now become then?
late. See, because the problem
Soon.
is, it takes me 18 minutes and 16 seconds to edit a podcast now,
That
which is
rules.
awesome. But that means it's now factually proven that it's okay to procrastinate.
Oh no! Now your brain knows that you can.
Yeah. Uno momento, por favor. Actually, I'm not on my normal computer. I can't even fucking post it right now. Sorry, guys. You don't get to see how the cheese is made. Hey guys, Sam here. There's a Japanese art called kintsugi, where pottery is broken, then mended with gold to highlight the breaks and defects, because there is beauty in brokenness. This episode is broken. We had no less than 3 unrelated technical difficulties, and in the middle of the episode, Eli had to bow out, and me and Maddie accidentally just ended up talking about the world for like 30 minutes. This discussion definitely cast its light on the rest of the episode, and so where normally I would cut the 30-minute tangents while one host is off mic, I left it in this time. There's a beauty in the brokenness of this episode, and instead of repairing it with glue and hiding it, I'm going to highlight the brokenness and with gold. And any weird transitions there are, I'm just going to put in more Chrono Trigger music than I normally would. I hope you enjoy this episode. I really enjoyed making it. Thanks. Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
Oh God, I'm Elias sailing in my warhead.
You'll have to forgive Eli. He has had, I believe, 5 hard ciders?
I'm on my 5th. I have
All right.
not actually had my 5th yet. I'm working on it. All right.
Okay, so you're gonna get less and less lucid as the episode progresses.
Anyway, I'm pretty not lucid right now, but go on.
According to my job applications that I've been filling out lately, I'm Maddie Grace Alexandra Webben.
Oh God, how many more names are you gonna have?
Maybe one more.
I mean, go big or go home, right?
Yeah, go. Well, no, because Grace isn't a middle name. Grace is it's a double first name. So Alexander's just the middle. It's the middle name.
Oh, well, fine. Be that way.
See, it's
See if I
relatively
care.
reasonable. Anyway, I've been batting it around for a while, but since I'm putting it on my job applications, I guess that means it's official. I mean, it's not official. It's not legal,
I mean,
but that
it's
doesn't
real
count.
if you say it's real. I mean, like,
That shit
what-
costs too
what
much
even
money. I don't
is
have
reality?
$430.
fucking everything's made up, so whatever, fuck it.
Exactly. Anyway, Sam, what podcast is this?
This is the podcast where we talk about the racial injustices going on in America and how they're really fucked up, and we hate cops. And I don't care if you
All chancellors are bad.
Yeah, and we don't care if
All
you
chancellors are bad.
tase this podcast because we're still gonna say fuck cops, and
It's true.
it's real easy to make jokes about it, but it's like also real important, and so we're probably gonna make jokes because that's who we are. But we're laughing to make it hurt less because it hurts and it sucks.
I'm not gonna joke about this. Fucking Black Lives Matter.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
There's some good cop content this week, actually. At the very end there, in Chrono Trigger. Depending on what ending you get.
You're cutting out again.
Never mind. Whatever. Just go on.
Sorry.
All I heard is there's good cop content, and I'm like, Brooklyn Nine-Nine is the only good cop
there's
content.
some good, as in interesting to talk about, and they suck, cop content at the end of this week's play.
Okay. Yes. Cops are the worst. But today, specifically, we will be talking about the ending of Chrono Trigger. So, If you came because we're sellouts and wanted to hear us talk about your favorite video game and then we dropped politics into it, you weren't paying attention. But yeah, today's really weird and I have a very weird headspace and it's probably going to go off the rails and be a little weird constantly. But
I mean, I'm borderline drunk, so, you know.
I'm perfectly lucid and I guess we'll jump in if you need me to. Also, like, two things happened this week. Although I will say, I realized towards the end of this week's episode, oh my god, Maddie, you dumbass. You forgot to, like, develop your Marxist reading of this text this time around. Sorry, I let y'all down. We've been playing this game for 6 weeks. We've been playing this game for 6 weeks, and I didn't once think about it from a Marxist lens. Maybe in the next hour,
You're
I can
so
whip
off
something
brand.
up.
Work on it.
And to be fair, if I did, it'd be the same as the Xenogears one anyway.
Pretty much. But yeah. What happened? Did anything not depressing happen in you guys' week, or personally depressing and not like the world is on fire depressing?
I turned 30 this last week, according to Maddie. Congrats to me. I'm finally a big boy. I actually turned 35 on Thursday. I don't look it. And I mentioned that when I was buying alcohol earlier, and I forcibly gave someone my ID and was like, "Here, I swear I'm not as young as I look. I guarantee I'm 35." And then told him I was glad that I was wearing a face mask because it hid the fact that I can't grow facial hair. And he agreed with me, and it felt good because it was like, I'm having a bro moment with a dude. And
nice.
It's like I'm a real man now.
What's better than this?
Yeah. Like, life doesn't get any better than that. Like, you're having a bro moment with a stranger, and you feel like a real man, and it's great.
Eli, I believe we call them a bruh moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I fucked it up. I fucking bungled it.
You bucking fungled it.
I bucking fungled it. And I even told my parents, because my parents call every birthday. And so we talked for a good 30 minutes, which was a nice short call. It was great. But I was like, am I an adult yet? I own a home. I've owned a home since 2015. I've owned a car since 2015. I have a washer and dryer of my own, and I'm married. Am I an adult yet? And my parents were like, I mean, my dad outright said, he was like, I didn't feel like I was an adult until I was in my 30s. And at that point, he had like a 6-year-old kid, which was me. So I was like, okay, I feel better.
I frequently don't feel like I'm qualified to be telling Scarlett like any life advice, and she's only 3.
Scarlett's older than that. Wait, what?
3 and change.
Oh my god.
She hasn't had her 4th birthday yet.
Oh my god. Wow. I'm really behind. Or ahead.
Or you're ahead, yeah.
Like a lot of shit's been happening in the world. But as far as I'm concerned, I turned 35 and Blizzard sent me a whole fucking box of snacks. And so I'm not going off of keto or I'm not going back onto keto rather until I finish this mammoth box of snacks that I've been given. Yeah. They've been sent by the Blizzard gods. Thank you, Mr. Blizzard.
Mr. Blizzard.
There are actually
send me some treats.
Some of them are actually keto friendly, I found out, so I'm gonna actually save those until I go back on the diet.
Nice.
But like I had some honey roasted sunflower seeds earlier. Oh, they were so fucking good.
Oh yeah.
Like they sent me, like, it's a package of like mainly organic, and like they call out non-GMO, which is bullshit. Like whatever. I don't believe in non-GMOs because everything is fucking genetically modified. But anyway.
So, Maddie, how was your week?
So should I go?
Yeah, that was me asking. So, Maddie, how was your week?
Okay. So my week, hi, I'm back. We just had a lot of technical problems, and also there's an ice cream truck parked outside my house. I really want ice cream.
Is it actually an ice cream truck?
I can't, like, what else would it be?
I don't know where that fucking music's coming from.
It's coming from outside of my window, but because of the way my house is laid out, I can't see the street, so who knows?
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like someone's ringtone or something, or like,
You
like
want
Sam has
ice
little
cream.
kids, so
No, it
maybe...
definitely sounds like there's an ice cream truck out there, which I've never seen an ice cream truck in this neighborhood, not a single time, so that's concerning. But
It's a cop.
My week. No, if it was a cop, it'd be a literal tank. Anyway, maybe the tank
You
is
can't
blasting
see it, Maddie.
Maybe
You don't
the tank
know.
I don't think tanks blast ice cream music. Anyway, cops don't pretend to be nice anymore. They just say, "Fuck you, we're gonna shoot you now. Get the fuck out."
Apparently there's a bunch of them pretending to be protesters, so that's great.
Yeah, maybe. I saw a tweet that was like, I should pretend to be a cop and be like, whoa, these protesters seem to have the right idea. Let's not assault them. But anyway, my week was pretty good, actually. Two big things happened. I can't remember what one of them was because we had technical problems and I forgot. But the other one was that me and my friend watched a really, really good movie, the original film The Italian Job from 1969. It's a great fucking movie.
I've heard of that movie.
It's dumb as hell.
I don't know anything about that movie.
It's a real good time. It's got amazing car stunts. It's just got phenomenal cars. And it's got a great ending.
I thought of another thing that I did over my last week. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Ken and I watched Jojo Rabbit. Highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, I've heard it's a really good movie. Actually, I've heard a lot of discourse about whether it's a good movie or not, but my dear sweet friend Amber Autumn likes it, and she has impeccable taste. And now you're liking it, and you have good taste. So there you go.
Aw, thank you. You only say that because we both like Twin Peaks.
No, we have different taste in many ways, but you fall on the has good taste side of the scale.
That's really sweet of you to say. I don't believe it, but thank you. Yeah, it was really, really good. And I mean, I have a lot of really bad ADHD, and I admit to the fact that I kind of zoned out for a little bit during the movie, but I also was paying attention while I was doing other things. But even still, like, solid movie all around. Taika Waititi is fucking amazing. Anything that he's in, like, he's fucking Midas. Anything that he's in, anything that he touches turns to gold. It's great. Highly recommend.
Yeah, he
watching.
slaps. Big fan. No, that's great. I'm glad to hear another person say that's a good movie. So after the thing is, so first of all, it's a great movie. Italian Job. One of the all-time best film endings I've ever seen. It's got a great. I won't say if it's hilarious or shocking or whatever. It's a lot, but it's an ending.
It was a thing that happened.
But after that, I was that was Friday night, and Oakland was having its first. It was having a sort of unplanned, not very particularly organized protest, whereas there's like a more organized one happening tomorrow night. So it was more spontaneous. Anyway, I really wanted to go join it, and I was like Googling it, like how are things going? What should I do to prepare? Should I make sure that like where should I go? I was really concerned about like what to do with like my car. So I was thinking I'll drive close enough and then park and then walk the rest of the way, so my car's not anywhere near anything that's happening. But anyway, but then I had 2 panic attacks kind of back to back about something unrelated.
You shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, I know, right? Next time I'll try not to. But I had these
Okay, cool.
I had these big anxiety scares about stuff that weren't related to the protests, and it was this big fucking hullabaloo. Like I got something in the mail that was very surprising to me and got me very worried. And that took me like 30 minutes or an hour to sort out. And I went through like a roller coaster of emotions while sorting this out. And by the time I was done, and again, I was like all dressed up and ready to go out the door. But when I was done with all that, I was like, I am exhausted. Also, it was an hour later. It was like midnight at this point. So I was like, I think I just need to go to bed. so I did not. I did not go and lend my body to the protesting mass because I was having too many emotions about something unrelated. And then some other big thing happened this last week that I don't remember, and that's me.
Great.
Nice.
You had a good week.
Yeah,
pretty solid. A lot of emotions. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, I've had a crazy week. For those who don't know, my wife Summer is Black, so this week has been a lot more interesting, and than maybe it was for you guys.
It's a little closer to home for you for sure. I would imagine.
And it's been real rough, and we can't leave our house because coronavirus, and we're still being like super safe on that. And then wouldn't have any because of coronavirus, we can't like get a babysitter to go and protest or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So we just made protest signs to hang in the windows of our apartments to just do a little. That's and good. Scarlett made her own, and it's adorable. Aww. And she asked a lot of questions, and we were honest and explained it a lot, like a lot in ways that she could understand, using things like the Evil King from Doc McStuffins and stuff like that.
Aww.
And
that's got to be so fucking hard.
Yeah, really tough.
It's fucked up. So this November, don't vote for Trump. Don't vote for Biden. Dismantle the United States of America and rebuild something in which everybody doesn't die. That's what you should do in November.
You said in November, but is it even gonna be around in November?
Yeah. Hopefully we can do it even faster.
Well,
anyway,
the optimist
maybe cut that out. Maybe edit that out.
I absolutely am not editing it out.
I'm just looking at trends.
Fair enough.
I am absolutely not editing it out. I'm not inciting people to violence. I am just saying that the system is broken. It would be great if we had a replacement for it instead of Joe Biden released a video today asking for money so he could beat Donald Trump in the election, and that was the only thing his video was about.
It's so like, bitch, you know that like the places, that like all the major places where protests are happening like are like Democrat states, right? Like that doesn't matter. That's not gonna fix the problem. In fact, in many ways, it's. I'm not saying it's like good that tragedies happen, but it is good when tragedies happen and people learn from them, and people see things that they may not have noticed before. Which I'm seeing more. This is like nothing I've ever seen in my life as far as the way people
Yeah.
are reacting. And like even people who are more like on the lib side that I know, people who I would normally expect to be on the wrong side of this kind of thing, even they are seeing the light. Which is good. It's really good.
Yeah.
But also,
It's been a lot. So I don't let myself look at Twitter from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. because it just gets to be a lot. So in the meantime, on days that I'm not working, I've been playing a shitload of Final Fantasy 14, and I really like Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you fucking do.
So as a person who does not like MMOs, Final Fantasy 14 does so many things to make liking an MMO make being an MMO not egregious. And like there's little little touches everywhere that make me enjoy it. And the number one thing that I like is I have not seen words not written by Square Enix of America in this game so far. I have not seen a single person's chat bubble or like a noisy chat anywhere, and that's basically all you get in WoW. It's like most people just want to shut up and play the game, and they're talking in private channels, and it's beautiful, and I love it.
That's cool.
And the story so
like
far,
you get to actually be engrossed in the world instead of having people being like, "You want to buy rune essence?"
Yeah. and like the story so far is pretty basic, but I'm getting to the Final Fantasy part of it all, which is pretty cool because the starting zones are they're basically the same as any WoW starting zone. There's not a lot of like Final Fantasy touch to it, but once you get out of the starting zone, you see like hey, we're the ancient order of blah blah blah, and you need to come with us because you can talk to the fucking crystals, and we're gonna go together and be a Final Fantasy game, and it's getting pretty good.
Yeah, you get to be the Warrior of Light, which is really cool. You got through Tamtara Deepcroft, right?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So your next fight is one that you will recognize from other Final Fantasies.
Nice.
So enjoy that. If I'm going to be available all weekend, so if you want someone to unsync you through stuff, I'm totally happy to do that.
Nice.
I would have done that earlier, but again, I was fucking working, so I apologize for that.
Yeah, I stupidly enjoy playing DPS classes, which is fine when you're doing questing, but then you get to like the end of the chapter and it's like, oh hey, this is a multiplayer sequence. We'll make it easy on you. Just press this button and we'll make a party for you. Average wait time for DPS players, 45 minutes.
I mean, Archer was my first class, and it turns into Bard, which is great. And I actually just got my Heaven's Word Archer relic or Bard relic after many, many years of working on it. I did not get it during Heaven's Word. I'm 2 expansions late on getting Terpander, but whatever, I have it now.
Nice.
So that's what matters. I unsynced Alexander Savage, and I got that shit in one night. So great.
Nice.
But
it's a lot of fun.
It really does a good job of feeling like a Final Fantasy game, despite also being a multiplayer game. But
one of the little touches that I love is everybody talks in NPC text boxes and not in a quest dialogue box. Like when you start a quest, it's just like, oh, somebody wants to talk to you. And then you have to accept the quest based off of that. And then when the NPCs are actually talking to you, it's dialogue boxes. So I'm actually reading like all of the shit that you can't help but skip in WoW and other games like that.
Yeah, as someone who like their MMO experience is World of Warcraft and MapleStory, and
same.
Like I love Final Fantasies, but when I'm playing an MMO, I want to play the game. It was a bit of a challenge for me to get into. I finally am in the mindset of when I'm playing Final Fantasy 14, I need to think of it as a Final Fantasy game and not as an MMO. And I'm actually like, so I'm going through an alt on Shadowbringers, which is the latest expansion, and I paid attention to Shadowbringers. This was the first expansion that I fully paid attention to. Like, I didn't skip anything. I'm doing it again because Shadowbringers is just that fucking good. So I'm really excited for you to get to that point. Unfortunately, getting to that point is going to take a while because there's a reason that everybody refers to A Realm Reborn as 2 Forever, because when A Realm Reborn finished, they needed a lot of time to kind of catch up with the what was the term? Technical debt. There's a really good series called The Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV. It's on YouTube. Highly recommend watching it if you're into Final Fantasy XIV at all. I can't remember the name of the channel that does it, but it is called The Rise and Fall of Final Fantasy, or The Fall and Rise of Final Fantasy XIV. And they go into all of this information about why Final Fantasy XIV pre A Realm Reborn was so bad and what they did to fix it. And there was a lot of technical debt left over afterwards because of things like the game was still on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
And they needed to update things to get it on the PlayStation 4 and to ensure that PC players weren't being left in the dust because of the technical limitations of the PlayStation 3 and things like that. And so while they were working on that, they stretched out the A Realm Reborn story so that they could kind of get to the point where they had made up for some of that technical debt and could put out Heavensward. There are 100 quests between the final main story dungeon and Heavensward.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Those are main story quests only. Those are not side quests. It's fucking ridiculous. They are pruning that in the next expansion, but that's not coming out until July. So enjoy 2 Forever.
I will, but I will report back as I get through and tell people what parts are really good and stuff like that.
If you
right now, it feels like Final Fantasy 1, 2, or 3 type stuff, and by the time you get to Shadowbringers, it's the Final Fantasy 12 and 15 type stuff, which I am excited for.
That's pretty accurate. If you hit that next dungeon over the weekend, and by weekend I mean Monday and Tuesday when I have those days off, let me know and I will absolutely just unsync you through it. Like I can easily do it on my Dancer or my Dark Knight or whatever. Yeah, the moment I get a Chocobo, this will probably be easy. It's just like walking from place to place is my biggest time sink right now. It'll go way, way faster once you get through that. You just have to get through the main story quest up to Grand Companies. And, you know, like I said, once you get to Awaking Sands, that's when stuff really starts to open for you. The glamour quest already happened, so now I permanently have my spectacles. So my little dweeb looks like lightning and wears glasses. Yeah, it's there's great. So many good glasses. I have a pair of glasses that are for Alchemist level 80 only, and I'm so sad they're only Alchemist level 80 because I would wear these with every outfit if I could, but they look so fucking cool. Like my main character actually looks like a doctor when he's wearing his alchemist outfit, but I can only wear it if I'm in my alchemist gear. Yeah, so let's talk about Chrono Trigger. Let's listen to one of these last few songs. And Chrono Trigger is Final Fantasy. It is, and like I said, we're kind of in. Eli's drunk. I'm
scared.
Sorry.
And Maddie's internet is bad, so that's what you get for us.
We've got
from
the
us this week.
trifecta: drunk, scared, and internet bad.
But yeah, let's listen to.
And someone's got a plane outside their window. Jesus.
No, that's a motorcycle.
Okay, great.
Yeah. But yeah, let's listen to. Probably we'll start with the Black Omen song and then the Lavos final boss song later. I think those are the two I'm going to pick. They're really good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Maybe for the outro, I'll play the outro track though, instead of our normal outro. Maybe I'll put a couple couple bars.
I'm helping.
Wait, what were you
Thanks.
What?
He's missing two notes from the middle of the main Chrono Trigger theme.
Okay, I was like, that's not a song from Chrono Trigger.
Yes, it is.
It's just missing
It's okay,
two
I
notes.
forgive you. You haven't listened to the soundtrack 50 billion times like I have. It's understandable.
Yeah, I'm
For the past 25 years
sorry,
like we
I've
have.
only listened to it today.
Yeah. Yeah, so when we last left our heroes, Sam, what were we up to?
When we last left our heroes, we had done everything, and all we had to do was go and punch Sonic the Hedgehog in his little beak. And there are a multitude of ways you can do it. Almost all of them get the same ending. I know there's a Crash the Epic ending, but I don't know how that one's any different. Do you know offhand?
I can lay it out. So here's something I didn't know until this playthrough because it had never mattered before to me. You have to get a certain ending in order to be able to do New Game Plus. That's wild. I believe Sam actually said that before, but I didn't get what you were saying, so I had to look it up myself. I just figured, you beat the game, you get New Game Plus. No. So anyway, the three ways to get to Lavos are to literally just fly there with the Epic, fly 1999 AD with the Epic, go to 1999 AD with your bucket, or to go through the Black Omen. If you fly through with your Epic, you will crash into him, thus skipping the first phase of the fight. If you go through the bucket, you will have the first phase of the fight. And if you go through the Black Omen, you immediately transition from Black Omen into first phase of Lavos fight without a break. So you don't get to have a choice in the matter. You just go directly into it. So that has the same basic effect as going through the bucket, right? If you crash into it, it's basically just a less interesting ending. Honestly, that's it. Because they don't have the Epic. It's not like it's the exact same ending, just minus the part where they have the Epic at the end. It's not the exact same. It's got some other stuff too. It's like got different scenes, but it's the same thing, but less interesting. Because the Epic is destroyed in the process. I think there might be like an interesting little escape sequence where it's like, oh, how do we get out? We don't have the Epic, or whatever. But yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But we all did it Black Omen style, right?
Yeah. When did you go to the Black Omen?
Oh, actually,
what time period?
I will say one more thing. if you do the Black Omen and do all that, and then do the first phase of the Lavos fight, and then you are now inside of Lavos, you actually can still leave. You can. It's not a point of no return. You can yeet out. After you yeet out, you can go grab your epic and crash it into Lavos, even though you've already done the outer shell fight, thus destroying your epic for literally no reason. And if you're me, you did that after grinding for an hour and forgot to save. Because I just didn't think that was a thing. I was just like, well, time to go fight Lavos again. I didn't realize doing it that way would result in me crashing it. So I didn't want that ending. So I was like, oops. Anyway, I went to the Black Omen at the earliest possible time because I wanted to wipe it out from history. I didn't want its black besmirching its dark ominous mark, ominous, that's a real word, besmirching all of history. So I went to 12,000 BC to destroy it, which I later learned is definitely the worst way to go about it for mechanical gameplay reasons. What about you, Eli?
I went in the year 1000 because the guide I was reading said go in the year 1000.
Oh, yeah, I went 12,000 because it seems right, and I don't have to do mental gymnastics for why Queen Zeal is the final boss of that dungeon. So because she would definitely be alive in 12,000 BC.
I mean, it's not like I went back and did the previous years, so I guess it wouldn't really matter.
Yeah, so the reason why you want to do it as late as possible is that after you just finish the Black Omen dungeon, the Black Omen is destroyed, which means you've lost a primo grind spot. If you do the Black Omen in the latest possible timeline, you could then go and continue grinding earlier in the timeline or beat the whole thing again. Certain fights you have to redo, although most fights you don't. Most of the bosses you only have to fight once. But also that means in a lot of the treasure chests, some of the treasure you can get more than once. And shit like that. So yeah, if you want to get maximum treasure and maximum grinding, you do them in reverse order. I didn't do that, and I regretted it later.
I just didn't fucking go back because... so, confession time, I started cheating at this point.
Oh, good. My goodness.
There's no cheating in a single player game.
I'm getting a case of the vapors right now. I'm pulling at my collar. I am
your poor virgin ears. I had the SNES 9X or whatever it's called. I can't even remember. I don't even remember what fucking emulator I use, but I had it look up cheat codes. And so I gave myself infinite HP and mana because I was like, if I try to do this without infinite HP and mana, I'm going to kill myself. So I did that. And I was right because considering how much HP it said that certain things were taking off of me, I wanted to die. It didn't take off that much HP because I was cheating. But, I had to res Magus twice in one fight and was like, no, this is too much for me. I can't do it.
Cheat that way.
I didn't have a very hard time.
The fucking sucky boys got me.
What do you mean by the sucky boys? You keep mentioning them. I don't know who you're talking about.
They look like those. They look mutants. Like those weird mutant things.
They're the mega mutants.
The future, but they're gray instead of pink, and they kept sucking like 200 HP every time, and I couldn't heal up in time because reasons. And so I was just like, I can't deal with this anymore. And I need to get through this today, and I have to work while I'm doing this because I have terrible priorities, and I've been playing a lot of Terraria. I'm sorry, patch 1.4 came out, and I needed to experience it because of journey mode, and I don't have a good excuse. Anyway.
Whenever you say patch, talking about Terraria, I'm imagining that they added a new patch where you can plant some tomatoes.
They basically added cheat your way through the game mode, which is great. I love it. It's fantastic, and I'm gonna play Terraria Journey mode forever. I'm not gonna bother with regular normal ass mode. Why would I do that when I can have God mode on and can defeat bosses on master difficulty? Anyway, Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
So,
actually, I want to mention something. So, hey, Sam, remember how we kind of pontificated like 2 weeks ago about how, and we also talked in the chat a lot with our fans about how like Final Fantasy VI and later Chrono Trigger marked a shift where RPGs are moving away from just really hard dungeons that are mazes and have lots of strong enemies into more like short, like set piece kind of things. Chrono Trigger definitely stopped being that. This game goes fucking hard at the end, is what I'm saying. In a way that the rest of the game did not. The rest of the game...
It fucking ramped up the difficulty.
Yeah, the rest of the game is
Holy shit.
this dungeon is 2 screens. Or, this dungeon is actually a fun set piece. But the Black Omen is like, this is like... you remember Final Fantasy IV? Remember that shit? Yeah, we're doing that shit. Remember old RPGs where you would fight 6 bosses in a row? Yeah, we're doing that. Sorry, did you think this was a modern game where we had phased out that kind of design? Think again, bucko.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So, plot-wise, in the Black Omen, we get a resolution to Queen Zeal's whole deal, but she kind of just like... evil laughs and says, I'm going to use Lavos and rule the world, and Lavos goes, no. And that's basically it. Is there any cool like lore stuff that I'll kick myself when we cover Chrono Cross if we don't touch for her specific part?
I don't think... Actually, let me look through my screenshots. Although while we're going through that, I realize I totally let y'all down. I am so sorry. I found a bunch of really important gameplay tips for this section of the game that I did not share. The main one is that...
How fucking dare you?
I didn't mean to not share. I just kept forgetting because of ADHD. But
I know that feeling.
The main one, for everyone listening to this, Ayla's charm... Excuse me. Ayla's move charm, which is actually steal. If you haven't been using it yet, start using it. It's incredible. I went the whole game
started using it finally,
using it,
and it's great.
And especially if you equip her with like the charm band or whatever, holy shit. In the Black Omen, every single enemy is like, yeah, you just stole a mega elixir. Yeah, you just stole a gold earring, which increases your HP by 50%. Yeah, you just, like, everything you steal is, like, mega elixir is the worst item that you steal when you're in the Black Omen. But most importantly, if you steal from the enemy panel, you steal speed tabs. And that's a big fucking deal.
Oh my god, those were so good.
Okay, so y'all were doing that. Okay, good. Because if y'all weren't, I would have felt bad.
I was using Ayla the whole time, and I got Marl's speed up to like 14.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Which is incredible for Marl.
See, I can never decide who to use them on because it's like you have a party of 7, you know, and I'm kind of shifting a lot. So I didn't use any of them until I was about to fight the final form of Lavos. And then once I decided on who my final party was going to be, I was like, okay, y'all eat 17 speed tabs.
Yeah, I think I used enough on Luca to get her up to like 11 speed, and she started at 7.
Very slow, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, she's super slow, and so I used a bunch of speed tabs on her, and it was like feeding this girl meth.
Yeah. So good. I'm glad y'all have that tip. Then I just wanted to make sure that anyone listening is making sure to steal shit. I think I had other tips too, but that's the main thing. No, yeah. So Black Omen, it's very lengthy. You go through it. It's got beautiful graphics that I'm going to rave about later when we do our memorable moments. It's also got a few gameplay things I'm going to rave about later. But as far as plot goes, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
My audio broke. Anyway, plot-wise, what happens is you fight Queen Zeal. So it's a 3-part boss. First you fight her in her like throne room, and she's like, "Nah, I'll get you, my pretties." Just not what she says. And you fight her, and it's a pretty cool, not too hard fight, really. And then after you beat her, then she's like, oh man, you're beating me. But you can't beat the Mammon machine. So then you fight the Mammon machine.
Oh yeah.
Which is like Source of Ultimate Power. One little thing I want to mention about this fight, it's got a little bit of narrative design here, where the machine itself is. They don't say this in the plot, but did y'all pick up on this in this like mechanical design that kind of has some story stuff?
I'm not remembering what you're talking about, but I'll probably remember when you.
Basically,
you always ask this question at the worst time.
Sorry, and I never give enough hints for y'all to understand what the fuck I'm hinting at, even though it is totally sorry, whatever. Anyway, the machine is the machine's basically going haywire because when you're fighting it, it like heals you sometimes for no reason, and when you're fighting it, it like absorbs and discharges energy, and like its whole gimmick is that it turns one kind of energy into another, but it doesn't like make sense what kind of energy it turns it into. So like I think mechanically they're trying to be like, this machine is just going completely haywire, which is really cute. They don't explain it at all. I think it's a really clever little bit of design. And so this is the 3 fights in a row. Again, that's the kind of shit that happens in older games. Doesn't happen in this game, except now it does. 3 fights in a row. So your 3rd fight in a row, you don't get to heal, don't get to change party, is Queen Zeal herself. She becomes a floating head and floating hands, and you're floating in the sky over like the fucking ship. It's like amazing, like crazy graphics. And this fight is motherfucking hard. So yeah, I think plot-wise, just mentioning that you fight the Mammon machine itself
that the one
is important. I don't know.
Is the Queen Zeal with the floaty hands? Is that the one where like the secret is the hand is the important one, or is that one of the Lavos fights?
That's the final fight in the game.
With Lavos?
No, the secret with that's the final fight. Actually, okay, I will go ahead and go over the gimmicks real quick. So the first, because I was playing, remember, I've been doing a low-level game this whole time, so these gave me a lot of trouble, and I really fought them a lot and put a lot of brain into them, so I remember them pretty well. The Queen Zeal fight, actually, I don't remember her very well. You just hit the bejesus out of her, because at this point, Chrono and, Magus and Ayla are just doing so much motherfucking damage. It's insane how much damage you're doing with every hit. So you just wail on her. The second
and then
fight,
she turns into
something that well, then you have the Mammon machine fight. That machine's gimmick, if y'all recall, is that, like I said, it transfers energy. Basically, while it's in energy transference mode, every time you attack it, it raises its defense a whole lot. So basically, you can only attack it a certain number of times until you're doing like no damage. If you magic attack it, it raises its attack. So see, it doesn't need to make sense. Your attack, you hit it, its defense goes up. You magic hit it, its attack goes up, not its magic defense. So you can magic hit it as much as you want, but you might get wailed on later. So then it wallops you. And then there's a brief period of cooldown where you just can't hurt it for very much at all. So you learn to just do nothing or heal. And then it does a weak attack on you. And once it does that weak attack on you, then you have like a couple turns where it's not charging or anything. And you can just wallop it. Then it repeats the cycle. The Queen Zeal fight is very simple. She's a floating head with 2 hands. But instead of what the game usually does, where it's like, oh, kill the hands first or something like that, it's just don't ever touch the hands. Both of them counterattack you, and they have high defense. So literally the strategy is just, she gets 3 turns per round. Her hands are going to wallop you. Don't touch them. Which is tough, actually, because that means you can't use, for example, Magus. Or if because all of his spells hit all. So if you have Magus, because Magus is good for the previous 2 fights, this fight you just have him on basic attack duty, for example. So you can't use anything that hits everybody, because then you get walloped. So that's those 3 fights. Eli, obviously you were cheating. Sam, I'm not like saying that's bad. I'm just saying. So I'm not going to ask you how the fight went. Sam, how'd the fight go for you?
I didn't die any this whole last segment. I was cruising pretty good through it. I've got a real good rhythm with the game, where like even if I'm not like interacting with the mechanics, I still do pretty okay. Like
Cruising USA.
I think I had I know I had Chrono. I think I had Luca and Frog, maybe Ayla, one of something like that for my thing right here. And everyone is real fast, hits real hard. So I just move fast, hit hard, and got through it pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, I was lower level. So I had some trouble. Here's one thing that's really cool about lower level. I just want to push this because, like, it turns out it's really rewarding way to play the game. Once everyone learns all their techs, which they did partway through the Black Omen, it doesn't matter what characters you have in your party because you're not benefiting any from having them in your party. Because you know how, like, with other games, it's like, I want to put this person in my party just because I want to make sure they're not falling behind XP-wise. But once everyone learns all their techs and no one's learning any XP, it's purely a strategy game. So I was shifting my party around every single attempt. I've never shifted my party around this much in a JRPG because there's no downside to it, right? It's just, here's a puzzle, figure out how to do it with your party. So anyway, that being said, I don't remember what my winning party was, actually. I think it might have been Chrono. It was probably Chrono. It was probably Magus. And then maybe, like, Frog or maybe Marl, maybe? I don't know. But it's a good time.
But yeah, she says, I'm going to rule the world with Lavos, and you say no, and Lavos says no, and mollywops her. So then you have to...
So one interesting thing is it is implied here that Lavos actually wakes up in that time period. Like, Lavos rises in 12,000 BC instead of when he's supposed to. They don't really follow up on that, but it does happen.
Yeah, it's really cool because you like fight him for real, and if you take the way out at the actual point of no return, and then you go through the bucket, you come up and it's just Lavos's shell, like where it was supposed to be him coming through the ground is just his shell is there. So I think he does come through back in 12,000 if you do it back then.
Yeah, so you're like drastically changing history, right? Lavos like shows up early because he wants to basically fuck up Queen Zeal. She's like, "Come, Lavos," and he's like, "Yeah, fuck off." So anyway, so you thought we had 3 bosses in a row? No, we have 4 bosses in a row. So then we're cast directly into the Lavos Outer Shell fight. Sam, walk us through the Lavos Outer Shell fight.
The Lavos Outer Shell fight is a fight with every single chapter boss in the entire game. Just as a boss rush. Just redo them all right here. And it's super easy because it's not a Mega Man boss rush where you have to fight them in a second fight where things are different. It's the same thing. It is the same bosses, basically no changes.
And
all the way through the game.
And you get a break between each one, which is the funniest thing. Since it's so easy, you'd think they would have counterbalanced the easy by being like, you got to do them all in a row. But actually, you don't. You can like chill and change your party and save in between, or not save, but heal up in between them.
Yeah, switch your party if you need to, change them. But so you do that, and then you go inside of Lavos, and there is a save point and a time gate, so you can get out of there if you need to. And then you go in and fight the real Lavos. And for what I love about this game is, like, at this point in Legend of Dragoon, we had to stop before we talked about Melbuframa and talk about Melbuframa's 15 minutes of monologue to resolve the plot. But Lavos is just a big unthinking sea urchin, and is just, you just have to destroy it because it's going to destroy us.
Yeah.
And you just go in and punch it.
There are 2 things I want to mention. I hate to keep like being like, well, actually, it's just that it makes more sense to say this now than to wait till memorable moments later. At the end of the Lavos boss rush, there is an actual new boss fight too. In the actual Lavos fight. Like before you, like, of the outer shell.
I'm trying to remember it.
So you do the boss rush and then you fight the shell in a unique original fight that's actually hard. Which the reason I think it's important to mention that is, first of all, 4 bosses in a row. At this point, you haven't saved since before the first phase of Zeal, so I'm terrified, right? It's like heartbeat because it's been so long. You lose so much progress if you die here, and it is a real fight. But also, importantly, this is the same fight that we've lost that Chrono died at earlier, mechanically. Which is why I think it's important. It opens with the move where like fire rains down from the heaven and hits you for massive damage and stuff. Like that's what that fight actually is. So that's basically the rematch. Is the outer shell fight. That's the rematch you've been waiting for. I did forget about that.
Though technically that was a chapter boss for that chapter. So I didn't know I wasn't lying, but I technically wasn't lying.
Okay. Although it's not phrased that way because it's not like do a phase change. Also, technically they do
definitely
cheat.
Not.
They actually do cheat, by the way, narratively. In order to make sure that the player loses that auto lose fight, the forced loss Lavos fight earlier in the game is about 5 times stronger.
Yeah. Oh, also, I should say that the endings also like it being stronger is also a different way to get to Lavos. You also have to face it that time stronger, which I think is if you go unbidden through the bucket, I think you have to face it at the 5 times stronger version.
No, I think it's the same. I think it's the same.
I know that one of them is stronger because I looked it up when I was looking. It might not be the bucket. It might be crashing the epic into it. Just picking 1999 as soon as you can go. In that case,
that means that him being weaker is like a consolation prize because you just fought 50 other bosses.
Yeah,
and they don't want you to fuck it up. That makes sense. Because like it is objectively way easier than Queen Zeal is the thing. So I'm pretty sure they're like, look, if you were strong enough to beat Queen Zeal, we don't want you to die on Lavos.
Yeah, because the developer ending, the best ending, the way you get it is either you go through the New Game Plus teleporter, which we'll get to, as Chrono by yourself, first thing you do in the game, or beat him at the it actually might just be that teleporter in the New Game Plus. The teleporter one might be 5 times harder, and that might be the thing.
Gotcha.
So maybe it's that might be the one that I'm thinking of. Yeah. But yeah, anywho, you fight the outer shell, then you go inside and you have your point of no return, and then you can go and walk up and fight the real final Lavos. And here's where you get your my favorite JRPG trope, which is the party member moral of the story speeches that happen before the final boss in every JRPG, and they're all really good.
I want to hear what y'all's were.
So I know I had Ayla in it, and hers was a variation on her Ayla live, Ayla fight, and it was like Ayla not give up. This is what we're all fighting for, but in cave woman speak, and I really liked it.
Nice.
I had Chrono in my party, so I was down one, and I think my last person was Luca, which I think she says something crazy, which I think Eli wanted to talk about.
Yeah, Eli, who was your in-game party?
Yeah, so I had Luca, Marl, and Magus.
Okay.
And Luca talks about how Lavos is some entity that's created everybody on the planet in order to harvest it. And it was really confusing because I don't know where she came to that conclusion.
Man, I really wish that Bernie would have won.
Me too.
He's such a good boy.
Yeah.
He just sent out,
and it really
he just sent out his email about the week, and it's super long and very detailed and nuanced.
Yeah. One thing that I'm sad about, and I actually do kind of think I disagree with this, and I think that he made a mistake, which is a shame because it sucks that my boy made what I think is a serious mistake. I don't think he should have. I don't think he should have suspended his campaign. Not because I think he could have won, but because as soon as he suspended his campaign, the media completely stopped giving him any attention, which is a shame because it's hard to be a leader when the news won't point a camera at you because they don't want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
The only reason they gave him airtime was because he was a popular enough candidate that the news felt like they had to let him talk because he's a presidential candidate. You gotta let presidential candidates say things, to be fair or whatever. But now he does these Zoom calls, he does these Twitch streams, he does these things, and does not get remotely mentioned in mainstream press, which is a shame. And I get that he can cancel it mostly because he could see that the Democrats were going to kill thousands of people with coronavirus if he didn't. And I get that. But I don't know. I'm worried there's another way he could have done it because I feel like he lost. Like his message could be a lot more powerful than it is right now, and that's not his fault. It's not his fault that the media actually fucking hates him and does not want to let anyone hear what he has to say. But he should have recognized that and said that me being a presidential candidate is the only reason I have a platform. But that just means that it is up to all of us to make sure that the ideas, not just his ideas, but the right ideas are being said. Since the news isn't going to point a camera at the one guy who's saying it, we all just got to holler.
Yeah.
I always saw Bernie presidency and even his candidacy as almost like kind of a cheat code, because it goes against all of established theories of power, of politics. Normal theories of electoral politics and power don't say that you can just have zero power or influence in society and then all of a sudden elect a guy to be president. That's not how it works. Bernie was essentially a cheat code. And if it had worked, it would have been great. Since it didn't work, we have to play the game the normal way.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the game is very difficult.
I just like so the meme tweet that then became an actual platform this week of if I were being killed by a police officer, I would simply vote him out of office. And then people were like, don't be mad at the police, vote for the people that hire and fire them or whatever.
I actually didn't see the meme. And that's really funny. But also really depressing because it's not even great. A joke, it's just true. I mean, not true, it's a thing that people say.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't want to just vote for people that hire and fire police officers anymore. Like, Bernie would have been great because I feel Bernie would have, because like Bernie just being a senator, like gave like AOC the ability to like exist in public in a way.
Yeah,
like
no, absolutely.
The shit that Bernie did 4 years ago, like paved the way for democratic socialism to like be on the main stage, and that's cool and that's awesome. And Bernie could have like done a lot of stuff, but now it's like I don't want to like it's not like, oh hey, some black folks got lynched in the boonies in Mississippi. It's like, no, in Minnesota, blue ass state, there's tanks and people are shooting journalists. Like
Blue ass state where the governor or representative, or I actually forget what her job was literally one of the people running for president and didn't prosecute the guy the whole time that she was in charge. Wow, Amy's faded from my memory so much I can't remember what she did anymore. But yeah, no, I was gonna mention something. What was I gonna mention? Whatever. Oh, right. Megan Day, wonderful socialist writer, personal friend of mine, and also writes for Jacobin Magazine and has a new book out that I'm currently advertising to you, basically. The Beyond Bernie book is really good. But anyway, not just in her book, but in her just speeches that she gave for DSA and in even her personal conversation I've had with her, she had a really beautiful phrase she would use, the phrase that she would use was that for 5 years, from 2015 to the year 2020, for 5 years, it was possible that a Democratic Socialist could be president. And that possibility, more so than even the person himself, the fact that that was a possibility was completely unthinkable before that. And that possibility was what it was so phenomenally inspiring, right? And it's no longer a possibility, which sucks. But in that 5 years, people even just being able to imagine that could be the case, allowed for like your stuff that you're saying, AOC, Rashida, that girl who actually fucking won the progressive DA position in New York, and then it got stolen from her due to literal electoral fraud. I forget what her name was, but she was awesome and definitely fucking won. It was very, very, very fraudulent how they took her victory from her. They were like, oh, look, we found a bunch of votes that say that you lose, actually. But still, yeah, those are things that are totally unthinkable. And all it took, it took a lot of work, obviously, but it also took giving people the imagination.
The fact that Bernie has had this platform since 1972, and it's only become a thing in 2015.
Yeah.
Says a lot. It's taken a shitload of work.
Yeah, exactly. So much work. But then it finally came to fruition. And even though it didn't come to fruition in a presidency, it came to fruition by sparking the imagination that a presidency is a possible thing that could possibly happen. And that another world, as we like to say, that another world is possible. That's people always say that, and it's true. It's very, very important. What's his ass? The guy who did it, Adam Curtis, political theorist Adam Curtis, made the documentary Hypernormalization, really good. Although actually that's a very depressing documentary that I don't think is, I think it was accurate when it was made in 2016, but I think things are less depressing now than they were in 2016. So I don't think it's an accurate documentary nowadays. Anyway, he always talks about the phrase political imagination, right? And he's just like, people aren't going to fight for something unless they can believe it can unless first somebody has to believe something can exist before they can fight for it. Which is simple, but it's true. I think it's the most important truth that there is, almost.
There's a thread that I shared earlier today that I really, really liked, where it talks about mimetic organisms. And it is obviously talking about the institution of police, but it talks about a lot of things on its way there, and it's real good. I'm trying to pull it up so I can DM it to you.
Did you see Boots Riley's thread on the police?
I don't think so.
I'll send that to you as well. It's really good. It kind of explains the whole situation better than I could. If someone asked me for some reason, someone asked me to help them understand the current things, I'd just be like, read what this guy said. Because I agree. And he's right. And he's smarter than me. But yeah, no, send me that shit. Oh, wait.
but so what it's about is
Sorry, I just looked at
the
my phone and I saw a message from Eli saying I'm back, but it was 26 minutes ago. But I realized that was a different
oh
time when he left.
yeah.
I was like, I have a phone on Do Not Disturb, which is why I didn't notice the message until now. Silly me.
But yeah, so it basically is it arrives at the point of but if we abolished the police, who would help us if we got robbed? And it basically is like, well, that's just what they want you to think. They scare you into thinking there's no alternative, so you can't even fathom that there's an alternative, so you put up with the bad shit. And that's kind of what it was like, where it's like, oh, there are two political sides, there is red and there is blue.
Yeah.
And then here Bernie comes along and is like, hey, green, but not the synthesis ending of Mass Effect green, like actual good green shit green. And it's a whole different way to think. And people are like, oh, wait, no, actually, the right and the left are not even like the right and the left. There's a whole spectrum of stuff on the other end of the left. And most people just literally really cool.
Aren't even aware of that, and more people are now, which is great. One of my favorite books of all time is this little bitty book by a bloke named what's his fucking name? Whatever. The book is called Capitalist Realism: Is There No Alternative? And that phrase, "there's no alternative," was a very famous. I think that was said by Margaret Thatcher, actually. That's a Margaret Thatcher quote where she said, like, she was talking about neoliberal reforms, Reaganomics and stuff, and it was part of a bigger speech, but she was just like, oh, I think it was maybe whatever. I'm getting my history mixed up right now because of my brain, but whatever. Yeah, and that's what she said. She was just like, the global capitalist system is what we have, and there's no alternative. And she meant it in like a positive way, saying like the Cold War's over, basically, right? The Cold War's over. There's no alternative to this system. This is the only system that there is because it's the best system. Of course, we know that you can read that in a very dystopian way. But and I think it's an important work of ideology is, instead of convincing someone that one thing is good, another thing is bad, you simply make them think the one of the things doesn't exist, and make it like you erase it from their worldview, and you prescribe you prescribe the arguments, you prescribe the imagination. You literally make a fence around someone's imagination and say this is the whole world, right? And that's like, that doesn't happen on accident. That's major ideological work that takes decades and decades and decades to make, and it's going to take decades and decades and decades to destroy. And that doesn't just apply to neoliberal capitalism; that applies to a police state. You say, well, what else can you do? This is just a thing that has to exist. You can't imagine it not existing.
Yeah, and like even the people that are like there's so many people that are follow, like even Bernie. He's like, we need to reform the police.
Yeah,
but I'm like, we need to abolish the police.
I'm actually not an abolish the policer right now in the year 2020 as an actual political position, and that's simply because I'm not saying that the whole like who's going to help us if we get robbed thing is true, because that's just bullshit. But the way that you get rid of the police is you get rid of the causes of the problems, right? By making a better, more equitable world where people don't have to, I don't know. Boots Riley's whole thing is basically like, because capitalism requires unemployment, because if there's no unemployment, then workers won't compete with each other, thus lowering wages. That means you have to have illegal businesses like drugs, which leads to gangs. You wouldn't have gangs if you didn't have drugs. You wouldn't have drugs. You wouldn't have a drug business, illegal drug business, if you didn't have unemployment. And basically police are to protect business. Anyway, the point is, I don't know. I think in the immediate term, like, I'm totally fine with abolish the police as a slogan, as a powerful statement that makes people mad and opens their eyes to the problem. Although as a literal political platform, I think it should definitely be more like demilitarize and significantly defund the police. which I think that would be a really great thing to do, and then we can move
Yeah.
on from there. I'm not saying like you shouldn't take loss of police, but I think some people can get a little starry-eyed about it. If that makes any sense.
And like, I don't mean abolish the police as in just like today there are now no more police.
A lot of people kind of do think that though.
Like, I would be like behind that 100% if there was a replacement for the few things that you kind of do need cops for, which is not what happens if I get robbed or things like that. But like people do get murdered. There needs to be detectives to help figure that out, and some sort of like system of that.
Yeah.
We don't need people who are immune to that said system because they're supposed to be the ones running it and all of that other stuff that comes with the police of it all. But like, I feel, and this is, I was raised on comic books and a sense of justice, so that won't ever go away from me. So like, I feel that there is some police adjacent important thing. I couldn't put it into words right now if I really wanted it.
And that's the thing. It's so hard to imagine what their placement would be because you can't imagine it because of the ideology that I was mentioning earlier. Like one thing that some people would say, they'll be like, well, what about like community level enforcers? Like people in the community who are charged with taking care of things as volunteers. And I'm like, that's like what happened with like George Zimmerman, right? Like technically.
Yeah.
George Zimmerman was like a community enforcer, not cop. So what I'm saying is you could still have problems with that, So it's just like, man, we're so used to not being able to imagine a solution that when we actually do try to think of a solution, we don't have any good ideas yet. But that doesn't mean the good ideas don't exist.
Yeah. Anywho. Boom. This episode is a mess. So, Eli, as we previously mentioned, was 5 ciders in, and they stopped agreeing with him, so he left. He has some final thoughts on the game that we recorded already. We'll put those in memorable moments, just like out of the blue. But we do need to talk about the ending, ending first. So Eli is gone. You will hear him later, but he is still gone, and we will,
I think we're gonna
piece this together weirdly.
I think we're going to engage in a bit of timey-wimey nonsense because I have a clever zinger retort to something Eli said, but you're going to put it later in the episode. So y'all will understand this if you listen to the episode twice. Speaking of eating a guy's lunch, this game really ate my lunch. And because of that, I had to give up on my low-level run before the final boss. Sorry to break the news to y'all, folks. I got to Inside of Lavos at level 33 for my whole party, except for Magus, who enters the party at a higher level, so I can't control that. Also, maybe Chrono, because that's just kind of how games tend to work with main characters. Level 33 for all characters. I tried the final boss. It demolished me. I don't even think I got past the first phase. The first phase just annihilated me. The first phase is mostly pretty easy, but he has one really nasty attack where his nipple lasers shoot at you. And it did like 1,000 damage or like 800 damage. None of my characters even have 800 health. So it killed 2 of them immediately, left one of them almost dead, and then finished him off shortly after. Even after rejiggering my equipment as much as possible, best I could get was it killed one of them outright, leaves the other 2 at super low health, thus leaving me in an RPG, what do we call that?
Spiral.
The JRPG cycle? The JRPG spiral. And I actually could get out of the spiral, but guess what? he doesn't use that attack only once, buddy. So
Yep.
I decided, even though I could see that there was a way to win the battle. Is the thing. It's not that I couldn't win. I could see the threads of the battle system, and I could see that they could be woven in such a way as to win. But I was also like, nope, that's it. I'm giving up. So after a few tries, I gave up. I was level 33. I went and did a bunch of speed up on the emulator, which I normally don't bother with, but I did a bunch of speed up emulator grinding on Death Peak. This is the part where I regretted destroying the Black Omen at 12,000 BC because I couldn't grind there. But there's a great grinding spot in Death Peak. Turns out, by the way, the best grinding spot's actually in the in Robo's side quest, but you can only do it before you beat Robo's side quest. If you go there again, the enemies aren't going to be there. So anyway, Death Peak has a good grindy spot. So I did that. Turns out it didn't take that long. So I got all my guys from 33 up to 38. Some of them bumped up into 39 or 40, depending on factors, but 38 was my goal. So go up 5 levels. Most guides say to be from 40 to 45. So I'm like, I'm still a little underleveled, right? I just didn't want to waste time trying. I didn't want to like get 2 levels and then waste another hour trying to beat it, right? Anyway, I regret it. 5 was too many. It ended up being too easy. What level did you beat the bosses at, Sam?
I do not remember what level I was at all. I've never looked.
I was gonna
at my status screen
just because I was curious, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, since you didn't have the wallet equipped, you probably were at least 40. Because at 38 it was still at 38. It took me 2 attempts. My first attempt, I beat the nipple laser part without too much trouble. Like I had to be careful, but it wasn't too much trouble. And then the second half, I got demolished on my first try. Then I went and read an FAQ explaining how that boss works. Funny thing is that FAQ didn't tell me anything I didn't already know, really, but it did let me know that I was doing it right. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's nice to be like, oh, this is kind of the way I should be doing it. Cool. I'll try that again, but better. And more confidently, because I'm not just guessing, right? But it was funny that what I kind of intuited was in fact correct. So anyway, I tried it a second time and was able to win. My ending party was Chrono, Magus, and Frog. No ladies, which is a shame, but it was a good party. So what can you do? Yeah. You were going to say something. What was that?
I don't remember.
Huh? Okay, well, to piggyback off the thing that we were talking about when Eli had to leave, Eli was talking about that Luca dialogue about humans evolving. I also got some of that dialogue, and I was wanting to contribute my side of the story.
Go for it.
I didn't have Luca in my party, but with Frog, Chrono, and Magus, I got the following exchange. So Magus says, since the dawn of time, it has slept underground, controlling evolution on this world for its own purpose. And then Frog says, it is too much to bear. We have been reared like animals. Our lives have been for naught. He's kind of losing his bonkers. Then Dracula says, we were created to be harvested, all people. Then I think there's another sentence I didn't get a screenshot of where he's like, every human and animal in the world is created just to be harvested. And then Frog gets over his funk, his existential funk, and he says an actually fucking fantastic line where he says, he draws his sword and his badass line is, my life retaineth its meaning, which is pretty fucking cool. That's what Eli was saying as well. Yes, they're suggesting, I don't know how the characters figured this out. Maybe they just thought about it a lot while adventuring. But they have intuited that... What's up?
Because we've talked about this since going to Zeal, and I don't remember if it was in the Zeal episode or Robo's Fiona side quest.
It's just that the hints are extremely subtle.
Yeah, but yeah, it's cool. I like that idea.
Also, is
a lot.
I forgot how much it's exactly the same thing as Xenogears. Actually, literally all people in the world were just made so that Lavos could destroy them later and harvest them for its own purposes. Replace Lavos with giant space weapon that's a self-replicating machine bioweapon, and it's the exact same thing.
Yeah. and I really like it, especially with Frog's line, because like as a as an atheist, even though like the concept of atheism is just like not even in my radar anymore, but like as a person who doesn't believe in any higher power, my life still retains its meaning. So it's like that, like, oh hey, we just proved there was a god and he has been fucking with us for a bajillion years just to kill us, doesn't mean that everything we did is important or not important. It like focuses in on the self, and I really like that. That's what I'm all about, is focusing in on yourself.
It's funny because like it's not like that was actually like a theme of the story. Like Frog did not have internal conflict until this dialogue box, but it's still it's a cool little 5-second arc. Sam, do you remember the interesting blasting? Oh, go on.
And like it's not like this was a theme that developed, but it like does kind of like fit in a really good way, where it's like, oh, we thought Magus was going to like destroy the world in 600, but it was actually Lavos, and like it kept actuallying, and it's just like this guy is big, bad, and evil. He made us all. Doesn't matter. He's still big, bad, and evil, and we're still gonna like punch him in his fucking face. And it's a good little button.
Yeah.
On
to slightly continue this discussion, TBH. This is actually what I'm about to say. If you want to skip ahead like 2 minutes, you can. But it is actually a little bit of an actual spoiler for Chrono Cross if I go into this theme more. But I kind of want to, so skip ahead 3 minutes if you don't want to get Chrono Cross kind of low key spoiled. In Chrono Cross, it's revealed that, like, did Lavos literally create humans? No, we saw he fell to Earth and there were already humans, right? But he, like, he did, because what happened was before Lavos crashed to Earth, he was a red star, and the power of the red star, the red rock, he basically 2001: A Space Odyssey humans intentionally to evolve them to defeat the reptites, because for whatever reason Lavos wanted the humans to be the dominant species instead of reptites. So humans were evolutionarily guided, think like intelligent design almost, by their guided evolution, Christian evangelical style, by Lavos, which is, and that ends up being a major theme of Chrono Cross. And that's why, like, if Lavos hadn't intervened, the reptites, who we do see in Chrono Trigger, are smarter, stronger, civilizationally advanced. They're better in every way. The reptites would have been the dominant species on Earth, on Lavos's
and
evolutionary
it's like
intervention, like the Reapers.
And the thing that killed them was not us humans; it was the Ice Age that was caused by Lavos crashing into the Earth. Yeah. So it's like many things. The reptiles would have just flourished if there wasn't an Ice Age, and the only reason there's an Ice Age is because of Lavos.
Yeah, and you might think to yourself, but wait, Lavos was just going to feed off of the molten core of the Earth and then blow up later. Why does it matter if there's humans on the surface of it? He's underneath it. Well, that assumes that the whole blowing up in 1999 AD and destroying the whole world thing was actually Lavos's plan to begin with. Now, that's not really a Chrono Cross spoiler. You know why? Because Chrono Cross plot is so confusing that's not even a spoiler for Chrono Cross. That's a spoiler for my interpretation of the plot of Chrono Cross. It's only a spoiler if I'm right. My interpretation might not even be right, in which case it's not a spoiler. My interpretation of Chrono Cross is that everything that happens in Chrono Trigger was Plan B for Lavos. It was literally Lavos' second goal. And he only did it because basically Chrono Cross happens before Chrono Trigger. I mean, it happens both before and after because it exists in 1020 AD. Whatever. I didn't mean to get that far sidetracked. I just wanted to share some thematic relevance of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, and then you fight him, and everyone talks about how their life retains its meaning, and they give their badass thing, and then you defeat it. Nothing more to talk about except the final boss is weird. Do you remember the interesting little mechanical gimmick of the final boss?
The final one is the thing that looks like his head is not Lavos. Lavos is the little dork off to the side, which is cool.
So in a twist that I think is personally, I feel like it's reminiscent of like Final Fantasy X. Remember how after you defeat all the really scary, huge monsters, the actual final boss for real of Final Fantasy X, Yu Yevon, is just like a shitty little spider thing?
Yeah.
That's kind of how this game is. The final version, after you defeated all the different versions of Lavos, is this big, hulking, bipedal bio monster thingy, and a little floating blob over his right shoulder. Turns out that
he has 2 blobs. One blob is just a mook. Yeah,
exactly.
One blob is a mook. One blob is Lavos.
It turns out one of the little blobs that looks like a side piece is actually the core of Lavos, which I don't know what that doesn't. I can't explain what that means. Like, I can't like literary style analyze it like symbolism. Here's what it means. But like, I find that very evocative. I find it cool. I find it cool that the ultimate power is. It's almost like a man behind the curtain thing, you know, from Wizard of Oz. It's just like, yeah, it's just this weird, shitty thing.
And like
overpowered all of his.
That's kind of how, like, to literary main idea, write a bubble chart for the paragraph analyze of it. Is that's kind of Lavos's whole deal, is being a thing on the side and like controlling other stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
And even so him being just the blob is kind of really cool.
Well, I also feel like it's a way of reducing his power, because like in like Man Behind the Curtain, because like what's like, for example, think about like in the cartoons or whatever, when you defeat the big monster, and you defeat the big power armor that the final villain has. And once you defeat his power armor, he just is like, you have the big final boss, right? And you defeat the villain who's in the big power armor, and then you destroy him, and all that's left is this tiny, cowering little shitty weakling who could not do anything. But then what does he always do? No, that wasn't the final boss. He pulls one final trick where he summons a big monster, or he reveals that secretly he planned this all along, or secretly like he made a Harvey Dent happen, or he pulls a gun on a hostage. You know, he pulls some spineless, cowardly trick after you've already defeated him, which shows how disempowered he is. Instead of standing up like a man to, you know, get all gendered about it, instead of standing up like a man, he has been defeated, so he pulls some sneaky trick. And that's a way of showing how weak evil really is, and how overpowerable evil really is. And I don't know, that it's just a tiny little game design quirk, but that's kind of what I get out of this. Except, although it does kind of undercut it by the fact that this final boss is fucking brutal.
It's real hard.
If this boss was like easier than the second to last boss, again like FF10, or like the Safer Sephiroth fight of Final Fantasy VII, the one-on-one Sephiroth fight that's really just a cutscene, right? Then that would have really made that thematic point that I'm making. But actually, this fight is fucking brutal. So, you know, maybe the evil villain is strong after all. Although once you beat his 2 buddies, he is a lot easier.
Yeah, all he does after you beat the other 2 is just try to revive the other 2. So it is kind of his last ditch trick type. Yeah, like thing.
The battle's basically over once you beat the other 2 guys. So it still kind of works thematically. I don't know. This is all very subtle. Chrono Trigger is a surprisingly subtle game. It has a lot of stuff in the margins of its. It's got a very simplistic story with a lot to say around the edges. I feel like it's very human. It's a very mature story. It is clearly made by adults with life experience who have things to say, but they're not saying them directly because they're making a simple game for children, and that's fine. But yeah, anyway, you beat him. There's a lot of great graphics. Let's talk about the ending. What happened in the ending, Sam?
Yeah, so you beat Lavos and you're like, well shit, did we do it? Did we win? And then you hop on board the Epic and you get the fuck out of Dodge, and turns out, yeah, you did win. And
I don't even think you do. I think it literally, I'm sure that's implied. Doesn't it just fade out? Doesn't it just fade to black once you beat him?
I'm trying to remember. I really should have been better about taking notes.
You mind if I just take the lead here?
Go for it.
I loved the end. I took so many screenshots because of memorable moments that I actually just effectively have notes of the ending. So here's the thing. So it just fades to black. And then begins a shockingly low-key ending that I used to think was a bad ending, and now I think it's an incredible ending. They repeat the arc line of the series where someone's like, Chrono, wake up, Chrono. We've had that a few times already. You're in your house once again, and someone's telling you, wake up, Chrono. But oh no, it's the fucking cops. Literally the 1000 AD Guardia ass Secret Service ass cops are like, wake up, Chrono. And I'm like, this isn't good at all. I'm sure they're going to say something nice. I'm sure they're going to say like, Princess Lean told us to come over and wake you up, which is just, it's ominous. You don't want a Secret Service cop waking you up in the morning. That's weird. Turns out my premonitions were more right than I thought. The soldier says, your stay of execution has been canceled. We must now carry out your sentence. So they fucking drag you to the goddamn castle and say they're going to execute you. And Chrono is obviously probably quaking in his goddamn boots. And then you get there, and the king's there, and he's like, you've done something bad. And the chancellor's like, yeah. But it's that thing that they do in movies where they pretend like they're mad, and then they laugh and say, haha, never mind, I'm just playing with you. And then all of a sudden, King Guardia, the one from 600 BC, comes out behind a pillar. Mm-hmm. He's here. Kino from the prehistoric times, he's here. That guy who was the king, and who was the head of the Dark Ages village, is here. It turns out the gang's all here, and then out from behind the throne.
That's not the Dark Ages village. That's homeboy with the seed from the future.
That's who that is. Okay, I couldn't remember. Thank you for pointing that out. Doan is his name. Doan. Oh yeah, earlier.
Yeah,
from one of the final bosses.
And it's important because they say that's the whole line from beginning to end of the Guardia.
Yeah,
which means that Ayla is Marl's great grandmother.
So cool. So Luca shows up, and she reveals that this has all been a trick. Luca was doing the whole making you think you're going to get executed thing as a trick to bring you to the castle for a surprise, so she could surprise you. And she, I guess, went around with the epic and got everybody. Here's the thing. In general, that's a really cute thing. Friends love to play cute little pranks on their friends and then turn that prank around into a sweet moment. But the prank was making him think he was going to get executed.
Right?
Luca, that's too much. That is mean.
And since the trial way back in the day, Chrono has now amassed the strongest weapons in all of history. So he's that poor guard could have just gotten destroyed by Chrono. Chrono we're going to come kill you. And he's like, tough. I have a time machine. I want to kill you and run away.
Yeah, if Chrono had slightly less respect for cops, which he should have zero, he would have just fucking murdered that guy right then with his billion point. He would have done the fucking move Confuse on him and done 1600 damage on his ass right then and there, and that would have been on Luca. That would have been on Luca's hands.
100%.
Anyway, but I have two interpretations of this. One, Luca is one of those people who is like, she's a little nerdy, a little socially awkward. She doesn't really get people. Maybe she's trying to do a friendly thing and just doesn't realize that she's actually being way too extreme and mean. Or Chrono's a silent protagonist, right? Maybe Chrono's actually a little fucking bitch and is kind of a pain in the ass. And Luca is being a good friend, but also this is kind of her chance to get a little bit of revenge and mess with him, right? Like,
Right.
and she kind of gets vicarious. Like, this is the only mean thing she'll ever do to him, right? She's by his side from beginning to end, but he's also a little annoying. So she's got to let off some steam. She's like, okay, just this once, I'm going to fucking get his ass, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to feel real good. Anyway, this is not a thematically important thing at all. It's just supposed to be funny, but I find it very fun, very strange. Anyway, so then you learn, that all these characters are in the royal line of the Guardia family, which, you know, a lot of games have weird things about monarchy. And then the king is like, it's time for the festival. We're going to have a moonlight parade. You're the guest of honor. Oh, yeah. So Luca told the king about everything. So now, like, I guess everyone knows time travel is real now. Okay.
Yep.
That probably won't cause any problems later. That's not a spoiler. That doesn't cause problems later. That's not a thing in, like, Chrono Cross. So then you have this game's version of the victory lap. First of all, Sam, do you notice there's a literal victory lap?
Yeah, it literally laps around the parade.
In a cutscene, you get to the parade at night. First of all, it's nighttime. Everything's lit up with lights. It's beautiful. Like, I teared up a little bit.
It's so good.
Absolutely beautiful piece of video game location. And then there's these dancers that show up, and there's balloons and children clapping, and then important thing. This whole ending, you are controlling Marl, not Chrono. Which I love, because remember I was ranting last week about how she could easily be the main character of the game. You control Marl, and you can't go into the menu and change your party order or anything. So you control Marl, and Chrono follows you around, which, again, not commented on, not a major plot point they delve into. It's beautiful. Anyway, there's this parade of dancers and flower girls and stuff, and Marl jumps at the end of the parade, and a cat. And you go all the way around the parade, which is the racetrack from the beginning of the game. That minigame, you had to guess the racer. So this Dragon Quest victory lap has to take characters literally taking a victory lap, which I find hilarious.
It's so good.
After that, you get to control Marl, and you get to go around and talk to people. It's actually it's a very short victory lap. You don't get to go to all the towns in the game. You just get to go around the Millennial Fair, right? You get to talk to Melchior, who is there. He's standing in the exact same place as before. Other characters are there.
I love
it. One thing that made me tear up a little bit, Taban brought Lara to the fair, and she's sitting on a fountain saying, "Oh, this is such a lovely night. Thanks, darling." She's just so sweet. It's a very quiet moment. This ending is very quiet. It's not loud. It's not bombastic. The music is very quaint and nice, and later it gets very slow and sweet. It's one of the most low-key endings I've ever seen. It's just these characters are having a really nice, magical time at a fair. You go up to the very north, where your adventure started with the two teleporters, and Luca's there, and the rest of your party is there, and there's an open gate. They're all about to say goodbye. Marl is very upset. She's like, "What? They have to leave because she loves her friends." So anyway, Evita says, but they understand they have to go back to their times. So she says bye to them. A few highlights. She says to Kino that Kino is her distant ancestor, so she'd better have tough kids or she'll be in trouble. She's like, please don't fuck up all of history by not having kids, or your kids get eaten by a dinosaur.
Does Woolsey put a sex joke in there, or
yeah, there's also a little sex joke, which is good. Yeah, there's a joke about him and Evita banging. What is it in your version?
So in the Slattery, the more not Nintendo 1995, she's like, "You're my distant ancestor, so you better have strong, healthy kids, or I'll be in trouble." Kino's like, "No worry, Ayla much energy," and Marla goes, "Yeah, she does." And then it's no text boxes for like a minute, and she goes, "Wait, rules. What did you mean by that?"
Yeah, this game, my version of that is
Ayla gets embarrassed. Ayla gets embarrassed and it's like, "Kino, you're so dumb. Let's go right now," and pulls him into the gate.
My version had the same joke, but it wasn't as funny, so I didn't copy it. When Frog is leaving, Frog is being very sweet. Again, Marl's very sad to see Mr. Mimi, that's his name in mine, Mr. Mimi leaving. But then Marl goes up to Frog, and in I'm pretty sure a complete one-off animation that doesn't show up anywhere in the game, she kisses him on the cheek. And when she kisses him on the cheek, he has the biggest, he jumps in the air and does a cartoon-like surprise face, but not the surprise face that he's already used. I'm pretty sure this is also a bespoke animation where he gets, gets, the funniest look on his face because she surprised him by kissing his cheek. Luca says, lol, don't these things always end with the princess kissing the frog? Then Magus gets ready to leave, and Marl reveals that he's going to go and search for Scala. I think that's all we get. Yeah, because Scala went missing when Lavos fucked all their shit up. We now find out what happened with Queen Zeal. Oh, son of a bitch. Sorry, we do get a tiny bit of resolution that I thought I screenshotted, but I guess I didn't. If you go back to you do. Sorry, I know this is out of order, but after you defeat Queen Zeal in the Black Omen, if you then backtrack and yeet out of the point of no return, you can go back and talk to the old man. Remember at the end of time. Remember how before the old man said something like, someone who is close to one of you is in trouble. And we weren't really sure if that seemed kind of vague, but we figured it maybe was Queen Zeal. Turns out it is. Because when you talk to him, he says, that poor woman can finally rest now that the Black Omen is gone. She's reverted back to a human. So, not a big explanation, but it's cool. He comments on the fact that she's no longer gone mad with power. You've laid her to rest. Anyway, back to this. So yeah, Magus goes to search for Scala. Then Robo gets to leave. I don't know. As just going along with the scene from last week in the forest, Robo and Lucas goodbye scene is the longest and most emotionally loaded of all of these. It's a big thing. The game puts a lot of weight on this very not that important really side relationship. So Luca's really sad because Luca's really sad and can't say goodbye to Robo. Luca realizes that because they changed the future, the bad timeline that Robo's from doesn't even exist. But Robo is so simple. Robo is so simple-minded. He's like, I'm sure there'll be a place for me in the future. I'll make it work. I'm a tough boy.
Instead of let me just stay here with you, he goes to the future to be a cameo in Chrono Cross.
Yes. I think it makes intuitive sense. I don't know. I think these characters have a sense that these people need to go back where they belong. I have an interesting thought about that that I might share later. Then Luca says, don't pretend you don't care when you're really sad. They have this whole thing. Robo thanks her for teaching him about emotions. He gets oil washing over his sight sensors. Oh, the robot's crying. Cute. And then finally, the three characters from 1000 AD have a little chat, and the gates disappear, or they're going to, and I forget the whole conversation, but Luca mentioned that she gets the feeling that the, quote, entity... Oh, right. Marl is like, hey, you remember what we were talking about before about light flashing before our eyes? And Luca's like, yeah. I get the feeling that the entity is finally at rest. And then they're like, well, time to put time traveling to an end. Let's go dismantle the epic, which still exists. We didn't destroy it. Let's go take it apart so there's no more time travel shenanigans. But then what happens? A fun little thing happens. The cat runs into the scene, and Chrono's mom chases after the cat, and she's like, Chrono, see? The cat's upset because you never fucking feed it. That's why it's always running away. And then the cat jumps into the time gate, and then the mom, just instinctively running after the cat, runs into the time gate, and then the time gate closes. And your heroes are like, oh, and then your heroes are like, we gotta go get her. So then we have a beautiful ending credit scene, which is fireworks and also the epic flying using Mode 7 graphics throughout all the timelines. Just, they're like, oh fuck, we gotta go get our mom. It's not implied that this is like a big new adventure they go on. It probably takes like 5 seconds, right? But it's just it's a cute way to see. So then maybe this is a cutscene version of them taking the victory lap. And in the cutscene victory lap, we see, is there any plot stuff here? No, the only plot stuff here is we do see a shot of Robo and girl Robo sitting on a hill watching the epic flyby.
Mm-hmm. Or if you're me, you get to watch a kick-ass anime version of the scene, and it's really good. So the anime version is really good, and it's so you get to watch most of the Mode 7 one before it cuts to the anime one, and so the epic is like flying through the air in all of the old time periods and stuff, and you see like Ayla and Kino doing their thing. You fly through like 600 AD, and you see Glenn as a human again, which only happens in the bad ending. So it's weird that it's there in the not the bad ending, but one of the alternate endings.
Well, I guess we're not going to make multiple.
So it's weird that it's there in this one.
The ending that we got, Glenn does not turn back into a human. He is a frog at the end of the game.
I lost you, Maddie. This episode is gonna. You're back.
I'm back.
This episode's gonna be weird, but So you see Glenn, the human, being knighted in 600 AD, which is super weird because he only turns back into Glenn in one of the like alternate early endings and not in the canon ending. So it's weird that he's Glenn here, but whatever.
LMAO.
So you see, then you see. It come back to 1000 AD, and you see Chrono and Marl getting married, and Luca shows up in like the most mom outfit ever. She's just in like comfy shorts and like a tank top, and she's like she shows up and she's built her own little robo. It's with her.
It's a chibi robo.
Yes, she has a chibi robo, and she's walking outside and finds a baby with Shala's pendant on it, and she picks it up and takes it home, and then that's the end of that game, which is definitely added after Chrono Cross existed.
Also, like, I don't even like that being there. I feel like that's a big, like... That should be a surprise when you play Chrono Cross. You shouldn't already know. That's weird. Anyway, whatever. In case you're curious, the baby's not Scala. I will spoil that.
It is not Scala.
Well, probably. Depending on your interpretation.
Depending on your interpretation of Chrono Cross.
Yes. Although, that is, in case you're curious, yes, this game does have one very big loose end, which is what the fuck happened to Scala. Chrono Cross in its way deals with that, and probably Radical Dreamers probably does too. I don't know. I haven't played it. You know what? I've got the feeling when I was watching this ending. You know what I realized? They could have made a sequel, like a normal one. Like, I'm not saying they had to, and I love Chrono Cross, but like you could easily make a Chrono Trigger too. I don't know why. Maybe they go to the future to say hi to Robo, and there's a new big global threat, right? I'm not one of those people who's always clamoring for sequels. I love it when art doesn't have a sequel, when art just ends and is allowed to end. However, if you just wanted to make a straight Chrono Trigger 2, you could do a great job with it. It would totally... It doesn't have like a sequel hook or anything, but like... I could just easily see you be making like another adventure that these characters go on involving time travel. Like, I don't think it would be weird at all. They should do that.
Yeah, I think, or I really want to play Crimson Eternity. Is that? Let me look.
It wasn't Crimson Echoes. Crimson Echoes. That's it. Don't
Crimson
look it
Echoes.
up.
Yeah.
I'm right.
So. Yeah, you're right. So it's
that sure I was right. Actually,
I don't remember.
That's why.
But so Crimson Echoes is a ROM hack that people made where they just tried to make a Chrono Trigger 2, and they just were like, let's just use the assets that we have because it's a ROM hack, and let's just tell another fun time travel story. And they get into some weird timey-wimey shit, and I've heard it's really good. And I feel a officially sanctioned one would also be good.
Yeah.
I also am really glad that they went the weird-ass direction that they go with Chrono Cross, because
like, I admire their
I wasn't
boldness,
expecting
but
it.
it's funny just being like, oh yeah, no, a normal sequel would have been good too.
Yeah. Or even like a Final Fantasy style sequel where it's like, oh, this is a different Chrono Trigger. Like, we'll have a different time travel story. Like, it didn't have to be the extremely specific thing that we got with Chrono Cross. It could have just been whatever it wanted.
Let's just stop being on the bush. For those of us who are curious and are just like, fucking tell us what was the Chrono Cross already, here's the thing. Most of what makes Chrono Cross weird is that it's like philosophically and structurally bizarre. But from a plot standpoint, here's what makes it weird. Chrono Cross doesn't deal with time travel. It deals with interdimensional travel. It takes place entirely in the year 1020 AD. So it takes place 1,000 years after the default timeline for Chrono and Friends, which means it takes place before, for example, before they defeat Lavos in the year 1999, and it takes place in two different timelines, but both in that year.
You said 1,000 years? You mean 20 years? It takes place 20 years after.
Sorry, yes, it takes place 20 years after Chrono and Friends. So it's both a sequel and a prequel, depending on how you're counting. It deals with multiple dimensions, but it definitely deals with altered time. You know, if you have an altered timeline, that means altered history. And a little spoiler, there's definitely more than just two dimensions. The plot largely involves a staggeringly different alternate dimension that you don't ever go to, but most of the actual game takes place flopping between two alternate dimensions that are very, very similar. Oh, also, instead of having a whole world map and shit, it takes place in a very small little archipelago, which is implied that it was always there. It was already in Chrono Trigger. You just never went there. You know, it just wasn't part of the representation in a world map. Yeah. But it was always hanging out over there. Like, your main character was like alive and Chrono Trigger was happening, which is cute. Well, no, he's like 13, but whatever. But anyway, yeah. I'm going to share my final thoughts on the game. I'm going to keep them really quick, and then I want to hear Sam's. I love this ending. I think we should use the ending song to Faraway Times as our closer. You will be shocked to hear how low-key it is. It's just this soft, sweet little ditty. This game is very sensitive. It plays with a lot more sensitive emotions than I had realized before. At the end, when you're flying your epic with Mode 7 graphics, instead of it being it's at nighttime. Instead of it being in the daytime, like, think about the ending of FF6, which is a very similar ending. It's Mode 7 of the airship with loud, triumphant, beautiful music after a literal 30-minute long ending cutscene. Triumphant music flying over this beautiful, beautiful world and seeing all these characters in the daytime happy and ready to make a new world. This is your characters flying at night, where you see the literally the water literally sparkles, like sun-dappled ocean and rivers, or moon-dappled ocean and rivers, as they fly while this quiet music plays. And then it ends with a final shot of the entire planet. And again, it's cloaked in darkness as the music makes a little bit of a minor shift that's interesting. And it almost feels like you're going to sleep at the end of the game. It's just very sensitive. The whole game is filled with really little beautiful moments. It's very much like Dragon Quest V now that I think about it, you know? Dragon Quest V's story isn't in the huge plot moments, it's in the little details of fathers and sons and mothers and wives and what they mean to each other, and pets, and kings and subjects, right? And your wife's your father-in-law. A lot of father-in-law nonsense in that game, you know. This game, though it is not as grounded because it is literally about crazy time travel sci-fi stuff, it just briefly brushes on a lot of really beautiful things, and it does it with a light touch. And as I've discovered this time around, is phenomenally well put together from a game design perspective, way more than I ever gave it credit for. Finally, at the ending credits have an amazing font. It's a great fucking font, folks. All right, Sam, what do you want to say? You lost me again, didn't you? God damn it. Sorry, you want to start over? I want to hear your thoughts now, not just when we do the episode later. Could you start your thoughts over, please?
So, this is going to be a nightmare to edit, but here's Eli back for his final little thoughts on the game, and we'll do that right now. So, Eli, what was your favorite part about Chrono Trigger as a whole?
I really like that they killed Chrono off. Like that maybe sounds kind of stupid, but like it was totally unexpected that my main character fucking evaporated. And I thought it was an interesting plot point, and like I knew where it was going to go from there because wibbly wobbly timey wimey shit. I'm not even a Doctor Who fan. I don't know why I'm quoting Doctor Who, but you know, I could see where it was going to head based on that. But at the same time, I thought it was a really interesting decision for them to make.
Yeah.
And I liked that it felt like in this game from before a time when choices mattered, that your choices actually mattered, even if they only kind of pseudo mattered, because like in the trial, you got the same outcome no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that your character was going to be executed in 3 days. But it felt like it really mattered what you did before that.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job of making it feel like you fucked up. Even though you really didn't. You didn't change the outcome of anything.
Yeah.
So it was still like there was the illusion of choice.
Yeah.
But
in like a cool way.
They did a really good job of making it feel like it mattered.
Yeah, and that's one of the best parts about this game for that.
It was so cool. And like the whole time I'm just like fucking screaming like, I can't believe I did this horrible thing that I didn't know was horrible. Because I've played Final Fantasy, and in Final Fantasy, if I steal some guy's lunch, nobody fucking cares.
Yeah, he won't even talk about it. Like you go to the NPC and the NPC's like, wow, my lunch looks so delicious. Can't wait to eat it. You walk up and eat it. And you talk to him and goes, my lunch looks so delicious. I can't wait to eat it. Yeah. You just move on with your life.
Exactly. And then in Chrono Trigger, he's like, my lunch. You fucking ate it. You know, and then he comes and testifies against you. Like someone cares that you ate some dude's lunch. Because you're the one who created the criminal justice system. This is your fault.
It really is.
Fucking dare you. You know, I love time travel shit. Futurama is one of my absolute all-time favorite shows, and they play with that a lot, and I think it's really cool. Looper is a great movie, you know, and it's like I said, I'm not a Doctor Who fan. I probably should be because I love this time travel shit so much, but it just Doctor Who's been overhyped.
Doctor Who, Doctor Who uses time travel as a background for its space opera type storytelling, and the episodes that are timey-wimey are few and far between, and that's the it's despite being a time traveler and that being his whole shtick, the episodes that are actually about time travel stick out because they're not that often. So if you're going to find time travel stuff, Doctor Who's actually not that good of a place for it.
But you know what is a good place for it? Homestuck.
It really is.
You don't have to read Homestuck, Eli. It's fine.
I think you would enjoy it if you did, but I can't in good conscience tell anybody to read something that now has 9,300 some odd pages now.
Oh my
so,
god! Right. No, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, don't do it. It's not worth it.
I
I'm not sober enough. Or I'm too sober, maybe. I don't know. One
Get
of
more
those
drunk
two.
and then read Homestuck.
God, I'll just read it while I'm barfing.
Home drunk.
Home drunk.
But yeah, you go and rest, and I will cut this in wherever. Cool. Here we are. 4 minutes
Eli
later.
died on the way back to his home
Doesn't
planet.
even see we're time travelers. It was 0 seconds for us, but it was 4 minutes for you guys.
Damn, just like Robo.
But I really like this game, and I really liked it back in the day, but I love it and cherish it more now after this playthrough, because back with Undertale, we talked about what would a game with a AAA budget look like if they didn't make it huge and epic and they made it dense. And I beat this game at 17 hours. It was real short, but it's real dense. There are 16 endings. There's 8 variations on this ending that we got today, including an infinite number of variations for how many times you clone Chrono's cat. I don't even know where that side quest is. I just know you can get a bajillion cats to jump through the teleporter at the end. I don't even know how to get extra cats. It didn't come across yet. They coded it in to have all these different endings with all these different cats, because why not? And there's just so much love and care put into every single NPC interaction in the entire game constantly. So much so that I, at some point, after getting the epic, I went back to Poor or something like that and talked to an NPC, and he didn't have updated dialogue, and it was weird because constantly everybody has updated new interesting dialogue. Everything's constantly changing, and there happened to be some places where that wasn't true, and it was weird because it's so true everywhere else. And I love that. I could easily put in 100 hours into a playthrough of this game, and this time I beat it in 17 hours. It is not a long game.
That's another good thing about the game. It's short as shit.
Yeah, but it's so dense, and it being short, we still got 8 episodes out of it, and we only got 9 episodes out of Final Fantasy X. And Final Fantasy X is big, long, and epic, and not a short, dense game. And it's there's so much to talk about, even though it's I don't know, it's barely longer than a Call of Duty game, which is crazy.
That's true. Yeah, it's Call of Duty is usually more 10 hours, but it's about as long as The Last of Us.
Yeah,
I think The Last of Us rounded out around 20 hours or so.
Yeah,
it's
something
weird
like that.
You get a giant RPG in this sort of time scale because it's so briskly paced. And yet it still has the confidence to be yeah, no, we're going to give you a real final dungeon that's got 6 sub bosses.
Yeah. and it's good. And my main takeaway from playing it is that this game's themes and lore and all of that stuff are really good, but not good enough to float it by itself as a serious piece of capital A art, which the Slattery cut frames it as, because it cuts out a lot of the jokes and focuses on being more about the direct translation. And so it's a way more serious affair. And I don't know, I love when Doctor Who talks about genocide and then puts on a funny accent and says a word in French and presses a big giant red button that says "do not touch." You kind of have
both.
to.
It's
you kind of need, yeah. And some stories kind of need it, and I feel Chrono Trigger is one of those that definitely feels better when you have the Woolseyisms in it. And so I love the Slattery cut. I'm glad it's there. It has clarified how cool this game is in my mind, and I still am 100% on agreement that if you're playing this game for the first time, you should track down the
Wait, hey,
Super
Sam.
NES.
Is this
Mhm.
our first Woolsey game?
Yes.
Yeah, that's wild. He's such a staple of RPGs, but this is our first game translated by Ted Woolsey. Anyway, just shout outs to Ted Woolsey.
Shout outs to Teddy Westside.
Also, shout outs to
But-
Tom Slattery. Like, look,
Yeah.
we've been kind of dunking on you, but you're probably just doing what you were told, and you did a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, even more than like this one in particular, he also did the Game Boy Advance Final Fantasy V, which is phenomenal. He did the relocalization for the Final Fantasy VI one as well, which is also phenomenal on the Game Boy Advance. Like,
Nice.
Homeboy does real good work. And although I like the weird Woolseyism of the Chrono Trigger, I think Final Fantasy VI is better on the Game Boy Advance. I don't think the Woolsey
I can see that
is needed as much. I think that one deserves a little more pomp and circumstance because you don't have a frog and a fucking robot in
FF6's
the caveman times.
FF6's whole thing is that whether or not it is a sophisticated work of art, it thinks it is.
Yeah.
And is telling you that it is the entire time, which is part of its charm.
Yeah. And it's good. Homeboy does good work. And what about your final thoughts for the game as a whole, unless you said it while you were gone?
Oh, I said it all while I was gone. That was the whole thing. I was like, I'm going to get mine out of the way, and then I wanted to let you talk. So you can listen to it later.
Cool. I'll listen to it while I edit, and I'll record a couple yeah, right? Cool.
I'm so sorry I was gone for so long without realizing.
No, it's fine. But next week we will probably do a movie night. Longcast is evergreen, so we're not talking about the fact that we're doing 2 episodes a week on Longcast, but this is not the evergreen content episode, so I can say we're recording Longcast constantly, so I don't think we'll be able to squeeze in a whole extra episode to make the movie night a bonus episode. So next week we'll probably do movie night, and then week after that we'll start Danganronpa, and it'll be cool. In about 2 weeks we'll be playing Danganronpa, and it's real good, and I'm real excited for it. I don't even know if I want to replay it because I literally finished my playthrough of it while I was on parental leave. So like, I just fucking played
Honestly,
it.
Like, you can take a pass on this one, dude. You can just watch videos. You're fine.
Yeah, I might watch. I remember all of the cases and all of the who did what and all of that stuff. So what I might do is I might go back and play more of the weird life sim game at the end where you can go on dates with people and do more of the social links. I might do that, or I might play Danganronpa 2.
You could also, like, on fast forward, fast forward speed through the main game content on YouTube or something, just so that you can pick out some memorable moments each week. Yeah,
maybe so. Or there's fast forward in game. I can just press select and it'd be fast forward and go through the whole game.
Oh yeah.
But I can say confidently that there is absolutely no way to break this game up without it just being save at the end of every case. Like, you technically could. There are like investigation sections, but an investigation section is not enough to float a whole episode. And so the first week is going to be a little long because there's a prologue and then case 1, but you can't, like, there's no good stopping point anywhere there. So it's a beefy first week, but after the end of case 1 will be what we play the first time. And it's good, and I'm excited to be able to gush about it. And then soon after that, we'll have our next vote will be up for what we're playing next. And it's a stupid gimmick, and I'm excited for it. We've thought of this gimmick.
Stupid gimmicks.
We thought of this stupid gimmick over a year ago, and I'm excited to finally reveal this stupid ass gimmick that took a year to pull off, and we have now met all the prerequisites so we can do the stupid gimmick, and I'm excited for it. But we'll reveal that when it is time to reveal that. But yeah, if you like what you hear, you can check us out at www.rpgbook.club or on our Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/rpgbookclub. And you can support us. But this week, don't support us. You should donate to Black Lives Matter adjacent movement.
Yeah, deadass.
Yeah.
If you're not sure who to donate to, we could put stuff in the show description, or better yet, you should just go to our Twitter, because we've been retweeting and sharing various things. That way you know that your money is being put to good use.
Yeah. And yeah, thanks to shoutouts to Carr, who basically paid for all of the first entire 2 games of .hack GU just out of pocket last year. We're good on buying games for us for quite a while now, especially because after Danganronpa, we are, because of the shit we pulled off, we already own the game. That's like, all of us already own the game that's coming up next. So we're good. We don't need your money right now. You can donate to the people who are hurting, and that's fine. But yeah, for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
Okay, I have been Elias Sailor Eli Warren. There you go.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Eli.
I'll
Wait,
upload this tomorrow.
Eli, you should say that you must go because your home planet needs you.
Yeah. I must go. My people need me. Eli died on the way to his home planet.
I'm waiting on Eli. And I'm Maddie Grace Weather.
And have a week, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Oh, we need to start doing that thing that podcast... No, sorry, this is actually going to be more work for Sam, so we don't need to start doing this. But theoretically...
Thank you.
That silly, like, dumb, like, radio host kind of thing where, like, I'll say something like, I'll be like, welcome. And when I say that, you do post-processing to make it, like, a big echoey voice where it's like, welcome, 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 welcome. That podcast I've been listening to lately does that, like, a lot, like, at random times.
I need to go back and listen to the last podcast on the left again. I haven't listened to that in a long time.
The difference is that podcast actually has, a dedicated producer, so it's a little different.
Yeah, a lot of podcasts young do, Chomsky. And it's weird how they have other people to do stuff for them.
Yeah, imagine how fucking sick that would be if we had enough of support to, like, hire a producer. That'd fucking rule.
It'd be great.
Actually, how much
does
that podcast
or at least
get
just
on Patreon? They don't
pay me to do it.
Well, yeah, that's
you already get paid for everything. All the money goes to you, Sam.
Okay, paying you to do it would be cool, but imagine even better if someone else, you just had to talk into the microphone and that'd be it, like we did.
Yeah. It must feel great
and if we had
to only have to play video games and talk into the mic.
Maybe we could outsource the talk. Maybe we could automate
most of the work.
Maybe we could automate or outsource the talking part.
I mean,
I'm gonna hire a bot to talk for me.
We write algorithms to generate our content. I mean, look, I'm basically an algorithm. I have like 4 jokes. Just run an RNG to
I could make it
to find. Just do an RNG to find out at what point during the episode I do a Homestuck reference,
and then what point you do your Twin Peaks reference, and then what point you do your.
At what point I do a dumb pun based on what's been said.
There you go. Yeah.
Whether and then, like, if someone mentioned something about this topic, I say something problematic, and then I say cut that, but we don't cut that. Yeah, we could just do an algorithm for all of us.
Just machine learning the last 3 years of the podcast, and it'll come out with something close enough.
Wait, but then the machine learning, we could teach the machine to play new RPGs that we haven't even played, and then we can just listen to the pod instead of playing them.
That'd be great. Let's just do that.
I've always wanted to play Bahamut's Lagoon.
By the way, we should play Bahamut Lagoon.